World War II, a conflict of unprecedented scale and devastation, left an indelible mark on human history. This global conflagration, spanning from 1939 to 1945, engulfed nations across continents, leaving millions dead and reshaping the geopolitical landscape. From the ashes of this conflict emerged a new world order, forever shaped by the sacrifices and lessons learned during those tumultuous years. The seeds of this devastating war were sown in the aftermath of World War I. The Treaty of Versailles, intended to ensure lasting peace, instead sowed the seeds of resentment and instability. Germany, burdened by crippling reparations and territorial losses, became fertile ground for extremist ideologies. The global economic depression further exacerbated these tensions, creating an environment ripe for conflict. Against this backdrop of economic despair and political turmoil, a new threat emerged: fascism. In Germany, Adolf Hitler's Nazi Party, fueled by nationalist fervor and a desire for revenge, rose to power. Hitler's expansionist ambitions, outlined in his manifesto Mein Kampf, threatened the fragile peace that had been established. The world watched with growing apprehension as Hitler, emboldened by his early successes, continued his aggressive expansionist policies. The League of Nations, weakened by internal divisions and a lack of resolve, proved powerless to stop him. The policy of appeasement, adopted by some Western powers in a desperate attempt to avoid another war, only served to embolden Hitler further. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended World War I, but it also laid the groundwork for future conflict. The treaty imposed harsh penalties on Germany, including massive reparations payments, territorial losses, and strict limitations on its military. These punitive measures, while understandable from the victor's perspective, created deep resentment within German society. This resentment was skillfully exploited by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. Hitler, a charismatic orator, tapped into the widespread anger and humiliation felt by many Germans. He offered a seductive narrative that blamed Germany's woes on internal enemies, such as Jews and communists, as well as external forces, namely the Allied powers. The Nazi ideology, rooted in nationalism, militarism, and racial purity, found fertile ground in a society grappling with economic hardship and political instability. Hitler promised to restore Germany to its former glory, avenge the humiliation of Versailles, and create a 1,000-year Reich where the Aryan race would reign supreme. As the Nazi Party gained power, Germany began to rearm, in direct violation of the Treaty of Versailles. Hitler's expansionist ambitions became increasingly clear. He first annexed Austria in 1938, claiming it was righting a historical wrong and uniting all German-speaking people. This act of aggression was met with little resistance from the international community. On September 1, 1939, the world watched in horror as Germany unleashed its Blitzkrieg, or lightning war, on Poland. This innovative military tactic, characterized by speed, surprise, and overwhelming force, caught the Polish army completely off guard. Blitzkrieg relied on the close coordination of ground and air forces. Panzer divisions, equipped with tanks and mobile artillery, spearheaded the attack, punching holes in enemy lines. Luftwaffe dive bombers, operating in close support of the ground troops, rained down destruction on enemy positions, communication centers, and supply lines. The Polish army, though valiant in its defense, was simply no match for the speed and ferocity of the German onslaught. Within weeks, Poland was overrun. Its major cities lay in ruins, and its government was forced to flee into exile. This swift and decisive victory showcased the devastating effectiveness of Blitzkrieg and sent shockwaves throughout Europe. On September 3, 1939, Great Britain and France, honoring their treaty obligations to Poland, declared war on Germany. World War II had officially begun. However, the initial response from the Allies was hesitant and ineffective. The phony war, as it came to be known, saw little actual fighting on the Western Front, as both sides remained entrenched behind their defensive fortifications. Following the fall of France in June 1940, Great Britain stood alone against the Nazi war machine. Hitler, confident in his inevitable victory, launched Operation Sea Lion, a planned invasion of the British Isles. However, before any troops could land, Germany needed to neutralize the Royal Air Force, the RAF. The Battle of Britain, as this aerial campaign came to be known, raged throughout the summer and fall of 1940. The Luftwaffe, under the command of Hermann Göring, launched relentless attacks on British airfields, radar stations, and industrial centers. The RAF, though outnumbered, fought back with courage and determination. British pilots, flying iconic aircraft like the Spitfire and Hurricane, displayed remarkable skill and bravery, often engaging in multiple sorties per day. The British also benefited from their integrated air defense system, which included radar stations that provided early warning of incoming German raids. The Battle of Britain reached its peak in September 1940, with the Luftwaffe launching massive daylight raids on London and other major cities. The Blitz, as it came to be known, caused widespread destruction and civilian casualties, but it failed to break the spirit of the British people. Section 5. A Day of Infamy: Pearl Harbor and America's Entry into the Abyss. While the war raged in Europe, events in the Pacific were pushing the United States closer to the brink of conflict. Japan, under the militaristic government of Hideki Tojo, sought to establish itself as the dominant power in Asia. Their expansionist ambitions brought them into direct conflict with the United States, which had significant economic and strategic interests in the region. On December 7, 1941, Japan launched a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, the main U.S. naval base in the Pacific. The attack, which lasted just over 2 hours, crippled the U.S. Pacific Fleet, sinking or damaging 18 warships and destroying over 300 aircraft. Over 2,400 Americans were killed. The attack on Pearl Harbor shocked the American public and galvanized support for war. President Franklin D. Roosevelt, addressing a joint session of Congress the following day, famously declared December 7th a date which will live in infamy. The United States officially declared war on Japan, entering World War II. America's entry into the war had a profound impact on the conflict's trajectory. The United States, with its vast industrial capacity and manpower, provided a much-needed boost to the Allied war effort. The war would become a truly global conflict, fought on multiple fronts across the globe. Section 6. Turning the Tide. From Midway to Stalingrad, the path to Allied victory. The early years of World War II saw a series of Axis victories. However, the tide began to turn in 1942 with key Allied victories. The Battle of Midway crippled the Japanese fleet. Stalingrad marked a catastrophic defeat for Germany. These victories demonstrated the growing strength of the Allied forces. Section 7. D-Day, a pivotal step towards liberation. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces launched Operation Overlord, the largest amphibious invasion in history. Codenamed D-Day, the invasion of Normandy, France, marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe from Nazi occupation. Under the overall command of U.S. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the invasion force consisted of troops, ships, and aircraft from the United States, Great Britain, Canada, and other Allied nations. The initial landings were met with fierce resistance from German defenders, but the Allies, despite heavy casualties, managed to secure a foothold on the beaches. The D-Day landings were a testament to the logistical brilliance and coordinated efforts of the Allied forces. The operation involved meticulous planning, innovative technologies, and the bravery of countless soldiers, sailors, and airmen. The success of the Normandy invasion had a profound impact on the course of the war. It established a second front in Europe, relieving pressure on the Soviet Union in the east and forcing Germany to fight a two-front war. The liberation of France, a key turning point in the war, paved the way for the eventual Allied victory in Europe. Section 8. The Holocaust, a Stain on Humanity. Amidst the horrors of World War II, the Holocaust stands as a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. The systematic, state-sponsored persecution and murder of 6 million Jews, and millions of others by the Nazi regime, remain one of the darkest chapters in human history. Driven by a racist ideology that viewed Jews as an existential threat, the Nazis implemented a series of increasingly discriminatory measures, stripping Jews of their rights, property, and ultimately, their lives. The Nazis established a network of concentration camps and extermination camps across Europe, where Jews and other victims were subjected to unimaginable cruelty, forced labor, and mass murder. The Holocaust stands as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked hatred, prejudice, and indifference. It serves as a cautionary tale for all of humanity, urging us to confront intolerance and defend the rights of all people. Section 9. A new world order. The aftermath and legacy of a global conflict. World War II ended with Japan's surrender on September 2, 1945. The war reshaped the geopolitical landscape, ushering in a new era. An estimated 70 to 85 million fatalities resulted from the war. Cities lay in ruins, economies shattered, and millions displaced. The world grappled with physical, economic, and psychological scars. The United Nations was established in 1945 to maintain peace and security. The UN aimed to promote cooperation among nations and uphold human rights. The war led to a shift in the global balance of power. The US and Soviet Union emerged as superpowers, shaping the post-war world. This rivalry, known as the Cold War, was fueled by ideological differences. World War II remains a pivotal event in human history. It reminds us of the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and the importance of international cooperation. The lessons from this conflict shape our world today, emphasizing diplomacy and a commitment to peace.